Welcome back to the Black Techies podcast, where Black culture meets the world of technology. I'm your host, David, aka Package Stiller. Follow me on Twitter at Package Stiller, or trying to get into the streaming game, follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Package Stiller, or facebook.com/Package Stiller Gaming. I'm going to stream on both of them. I've already streamed Black Ops Cold War, the beta. It's pretty good. We can talk about it later. In fact, we might be able to talk about it on here. It ain't like Apple did anything. So but yeah, follow me on there. But this is the Black Techies podcast, so follow the Black Techies on Twitter at the Black Techies and Facebook.com/the Black Techies podcast. I'm joined once again by Herb and Dominique and Leslie, our unofficial but official new member of the of the Black Techies. Uh,
Yo,
Yo,
Getting the cut. No, I'm just kidding. But but how you all? It's been kind of crazy. We almost there. The election's almost there. Like it's almost over, maybe. But you all been voting. You all been just not even just that. You all been doing well over there, staying safe.
I work on the front lines every day for COVID, so that's what I get to see a little bit every day. So we're making progress, but every step we take forward, like almost three steps back. So I'm hoping the election changes a few things on that end.
All
well,
right.
I think. Go ahead, Dom. You good? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm I'm just I mean nothing's really changed that much for me since the last time we were together. Just every day I wake up knowing that we're closer and closer. Now I don't know if that's 1 month or really technically 3 months or if that's 4 years and 3 months, but whatever it is, we are closer to it almost being over. That's the only thing I can rest on. That's all I got.
Things have been good with me. Our contract, for the man, along with our leader Dave, who works directly for the man.
Look, man.
Um, um,
I am a technology reporter for TechSpot.com.
yeah, no, yeah, yeah. That matter of fact, thank you, Dave, for that segue because I was going to get this plug out real quick. This non-technical related plug. Those of you that have followed me lately know that I'm also a college basketball contributor for Fansided's Busting Brackets platform. I wanted to extend a hearty thank you to the folks that run the HBCU Elite 1500 basketball camp. I got a chance to interview those guys, and they are doing an awesome job in terms of being able to bring a lot of HBCU talent to the forefront for college basketball at the Division I and Division II levels. Uh, look for a story coming for those guys here in short order. Also look for the MEAC 2020-2021 preview for the college basketball season. That's coming up as well. And final note, shout out to John Cash, who was a previous guest rather, excuse me, on our podcast. And looks like everything that we were talking about has kind of come to fruition. The MEAC Esports League is going strong. They're in the middle of their first season. If you're a fan, if you're a student, if you're an alumni, go check them out at meacesports.com. Their season is still open. I think the first season is still going until the end of December. Sign up. It's awesome. I mean, it's good stuff. It's good stuff that's going on, and the SWAC is there following suit. So the esports footprint for HBCUs is growing, and we're here for it. And thank you.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to watch all of that or listen, we did a two-part series, HBCU and esports. So go ahead and check that out if you want to hear Mr. Cash's views on esports and what they're doing down there at Johnson C. Smith and really around the HBCU landscape, like Herb was saying. Like it's getting serious. It's getting serious, and like right now during COVID, when all we have to do is play video games, look, let's do it.
Sure.
Right? But that's part of the reason why I'm doing the streaming stuff now anyway. I'm at home. What else am I gonna do? So I might as well. But all right. So you all see the title of the episode. We're talking about Apple and the iPhone 12, which technically is really the iPhone 11s, but let's not get into that. They're not doing the S series anymore. And now it's just full numbered uh sequels or whatever. So just as a recap, iPhone or iPhone Apple introduced actually they introduced two things technically, the HomePod Mini and the iPhone 12 and its like variants, pro variants or whatever. So I will say the HomePod Mini I think is actually looks pretty cool, at least compared to all the other ones out there. As you can tell, it's a mini version of their HomePod. Um, which let me see if I can pull it up. Did you all have any thoughts on the HomePod Mini, or did you all watch it? Watch the did you all watch the Apple's event, or did you all
Yeah,
just kind of pick it up later
yeah.
on?
I watched
Oh, I
Apple's
thought you.
event.
I was like, I'm the Apple guy, so yeah.
I
I
watched
watched it.
Apple's event. Oh, go ahead, Dom. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got you. I watched. I went. I watched the event. Apple was really good at getting me to drink the Kool Aid, and so I'm like, if they would release their products the very same day, they would have so much more money for me than they're gonna have. Because that day, after I watched the HomePod Mini on there, I was like, man, I gotta have like five of them around the house. That'd be awesome. I could just walk up with my phone and be like, that. I watched MKBHD. I watched him do a breakdown on it, and then he kind of brought me back to reality. It's like it's still a, it's still you're basically saying I want a Siri in my house, and Siri's the worst assistant of all of the assistants. Siri is absolutely the worst assistant. She doesn't speak English very well, which is kind of important in an English speaking home. This thing doesn't have a screen still. It's a little bit of a touchpad, a little touch interaction, but I got a buddy that has a smart Google Home, and he's got like these Google shows all over the place. And if you ever in a situation where you want to watch a YouTube video or look at a recipe or whatever, you tell Google to do it, and Google's gonna do it. And Google does assist it very well. So at first I was like, yeah, but yeah, the quality of the audio is gonna be good because of the computational audio. Allegedly, nobody's heard the thing that doesn't work for Apple now because of Corona. They couldn't get it hands on after the event. So I mean, the HomePod Mini, it's a very niche group of people. I still haven't seen anybody. You got to be an Apple dude to spend 350 or 399 on a speaker that don't have a screen and that's just got Siri on it. So
Yeah, bro.
that's
Those them cats that spend that type of scratch on that wear white cloaks with a big A on it for Apple. And they walk around. But yeah, I saw it, and like Dom said on the HomePod Mini, man, I mean, it wouldn't be that bad of a thing if Siri wasn't so AI challenged to begin with. I mean, Siri has problems just interpreting basic English. Period. I mean, you say something to Siri, and half the time you're ready to give Siri some expletives because Siri don't understand what you're doing. So I I mean,
I'll give you an example. I was asking Siri the other day. I wanted her to tell me what originalism is because they've been talking about this a lot with Amy Coney Barrett. I don't know what originalism is, and I still don't. Because I asked Siri, I said, "Hey Siri, what's originalism?" And Siri pulled up regionalism, and I guess that's a fairly like. It's not like she pulled up what is Saskatchewan, but that's not
yeah,
what I said, Siri. Like, and I speak, I'm eloquent. I enunciate. I naturally. I didn't say, "Hey Siri, what's regionalism?" Okay, whatever you get out of that,
yeah,
you do the best you can with that. I said, "Hey Siri, what is originalism?" What is regionalism? Regionalism? No, we're not gonna do that.
yeah. I mean, the other stuff that I saw, um, I mean, I'm gonna be frank. You know, I mean,
Hi
the
Frank, I'm
tech.
Dom.
It's not something that Apple did to be groundbreaking. I mean, in other words, it's technology that we've already seen, maybe with the exception of the lidar and the lidar integration for their photo, for their photography. Um, it's not something that we in other words, Apple, in order for to get something outside of their niche component of customers, you want to do something groundbreaking technology wise. And there was nothing in there that convinced me to, jump ship from my Pixel or jump ship you know, from the Samsung products that are out there to go back to Team Apple.
You know,
Unless you're just happy with that ecosystem. So,
I mean, you
I mean,
have to be. I mean, it seems like a lot of the stuff they're coming out with now is more so for people like if you're already in the ecosystem, then it kind of makes sense to get a HomePod, kind of. Now, I will say one thing I do like about the HomePod Mini that I don't think you can do with the Google or Amazon products is that like if you send out a broadcast, it'll send it out to everyone, regardless of where they are. Like they could be outside of the house and they'll still get the broadcast. I thought that was kind of cool. I don't think you can do broadcasts on that a sneeze.
Bless you.
Bless you, bro.
Sorry. No Rona.
Got some allergies
That
allergies
is
on might want to go get
Nashville
tested
is
there.
not
get
Nashville
tested,
is the
bro.
worst city on the planet for allergies. I never have allergies, man. It's so bad here.
I didn't get
Uh,
allergies until I moved to Virginia, so I don't know. but but yeah, it seems like if you're not already in the ecosystem, it doesn't really make sense like to get a home pod because like if you have a Roku and an Android phone and a Windows computer, where'd you get a home pod? Like it doesn't really
Point.
mesh well.
Yeah. I mean,
well,
and I
Apple
think
doesn't make stuff to mesh. They make stuff to get
no.
you off your other inferior stuff onto a superior platform.
See,
They want to bring you into their beautiful walled garden. And the thing is, it is a beautiful garden. And you're stuck in it when you're there, but it's real pretty while you're there. Like the fact that I know that this HomePod works. If Google were to release a product, Gen 1, ah, you know, ah,
I mean, the Google Home Mini was the first gen product, and they work pretty well. I
man,
that
look,
have
is
one.
not the
I
that's not
have
their
two of
story.
them.
That's not the story
man,
for all
look.
of their first
You
gen
see
products,
Marvin the
okay?
Martian back here? He's not putting up with Apple shenanigans.
Well,
I
my
mean,
whole opinion on the whole thing is okay, Apple was trying to bring people back because one, they dropped their prices immensely from what
They did.
the only thing they dropped
I
their
think the
prices, so
whole
they're trying to
industry
get
is doing that.
they're trying to get more people to come back because the prices are better. You're looking for Apple people, unless you want just one the name brand. So now the price is a little bit cheaper to get. Two, you get a better camera. Whoop de doo. Now you have a very fancy digital camera that can make phone calls every now and again. And they changed the technology, so now if you're on 5G, that's great. But if you're somewhere where you can't get it, it's automatically going to shift back and forth between LTE and 5G. I don't see that working too well in the middle of phone calls. That's going to be a
Well,
major.
5G is not a phone tech, so I don't think it'll even activate during the phone call. I think it's mostly for, and I say it's not just going to drop off when 5G is not available. It's not going to use it when you don't need it. So the
No,
phone's going to
I'm.
Yeah.
determine when you need the speed. So probably if you're streaming or doing something internet related, it'll kick on the 5G if you're in a 5G area. So there's like four city blocks in the whole country that have
Right.
5G. So if you're in one of them four city blocks, cool. Other than that, it's just a regular phone.
yeah,
So
Right.
so
And
so
it's sad that they're trying to push it so much because if you watch the presentation, the main thing they kept screaming is like 5G ready,
5G,
5G
5G,
ready,
and,
5G.
5G
and
Excuse
ready.
me, excuse me. We're late to the 5G party, and Samsung had a 5G phone in 2010. Samsung put a 5G phone out in 2010, talking
I know.
about some 5G will be here later. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but I'm saying like Apple, Apple, Apple definitely, Apple definitely waited until 5G actually existed before they put the 5G phone out. And I think that the idea behind that is most people keep their iPhones for a long time. iPhones are supported for a long time and they work and will still be better than most Androids for a long time. And I say better, I just mean spec wise, not user experience. Y'all like Androids, that's cool. You put a benchmarking test on an iPhone 7 right now, maybe an iPhone 8 right now, and it'll smoke every Android on the market. That's just, I didn't believe it until I saw it either. But it just is what it is. Apple makes their own chips, and all of Google is relegated to whatever Exynos or whatever Exynos chip or Snapdragon chip is available at the time. And so if y'all call it what you want to call it, Apple smoking out here, smoking. It ain't even close.
So here's the thing. It
And look,
almost seemed like
let me just add something real quick before David started. Apple is the Joe Isuzu of the mobile phone world,
the
in my
Joey
opinion.
Isuzu.
Wow.
Because man, Apple sells a specific package, and they try to sell you on them being so forward thinking. And I mean, they have the audience to eat it up. Obviously, have the niche to eat it up. But people outside of that Apple bubble are side eyeing it always. And it's like, yeah, we already see that. We see that in other things, and that's not necessarily a knock on Apple, because Apple knows that they have a core fan base that they can pretty much package whatever they want, however they want it, and they're going to buy it. Period. So sometimes when folks that are outside of that whole Apple ecosystem listen to the positives of Apple, we can't help but like look at our phones and be like, I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know if that flies.
To kind of follow on to that, like, so I was watching it, right, and like my wife, she was like just diehard Apple. Like, she would even play around and be like, she would fake like she's like an Apple devotee or whatever, like a religious fanatic or something. She was like, the Apple is right in everything. I'm like, okay, but so see, both me and her watched the Apple event, and she was not
She
she was
wasn't
not
impressed.
impressed. And she was like, she literally said, I'm gonna go get a Note 20, a Galaxy Note 20, because I mean, it really was almost like an S tier. Like, yeah, the camera is a little bit better. The A14 Bionic chip is better. Of course, it's gonna be better, but there's no real reason to upgrade to, there's no real reason to get one.
That
There's
is
no
true of
compelling
every
reason.
phone every year.
Well, it depends, because now, like, all right, the Galaxy Z Fold 5G, right? That's
That's
a
two
legit,
thousand dollars.
and the Surface Duo. Well, yeah, and the Surface Duo. Like, those are different kinds of form factors that might have a tangible, like, might actually change how you use the phone. If you get an iPhone 12, it's not going to change how you use it. In fact,
So is that the
you
bar
might
we're
not even
setting
really
now,
see the
Android
difference.
people? Is that the bar we're setting now, Android people? Because that phone is $2,000 and it breaks a lot.
Not the new
Well,
one.
dude, let me
It's
see.
also an early in the early stages of folding
It is
phones
in the
though.
early stages. So at one day you might be right about that. But right now, in the year of our Lord 2020, that phone is not the reason that's not the game changer that anybody thought it might be. Um, it's still, there's a lot of problems with that phone. We're still trying to figure out how we're going to use it.
But that's what happened when the first iPhone came out. like
Exactly. I mean,
like when they had when the software keyboard came out, everyone was still used to hardware keyboards like the BlackBerry and stuff. And then when the iPhone came out, they were like, we can't use this. And now 2020, everybody got software keyboards, and we're all used to it.
and look, and I'm not gonna arbitrarily just crap on iPhone just to crap on it. iPhone, to their credit, they they put together a product that appeals to their audience, and that's what you want. You know, I mean, they prided themselves on ease of use, convenience, and comfort in terms of their operating systems and in terms of their aesthetic. But if you're looking at the bar in terms of whether that aesthetic equates to customers outside of that ecosystem wanting something new, nah, nah. Folks folks that don't necessarily, settle with the iPhone aesthetic or that ecosystem. Yeah, Android, falls in their face sometimes when they push the envelope in terms of their phone design, but they appreciate the fact that they do. When was the last time Apple had something innovative? in their phones.
Um,
When?
the X with the Face ID, that was innovative, and it works.
Face with the Face ID?
Yeah, Face ID was a game changer.
Okay, that's one. Out of how many years?
I mean, it's been 3 years now. It's been three, maybe 4 years now since that's been a thing.
Man.
But listen, hold on. You're comparing. You're essentially comparing, um,
I
like
get.
you're comparing Apple versus the field,
I
right?
guess.
Because it's not like you're saying how many innovations has Samsung done, or how many innovations has LG done, or how many
Well,
innovations has Huawei done. You're saying how many innovations have the old 99% of the rest of people that make phones against Apple. And if you really look at it, there are some innovations that maybe aren't as innovative sounding as the Android people make them seem to be, but lidar is a big deal.
oh yeah,
The
absolutely.
uh,
I'll be the first one. Hold on, I'll be the first one to tell you that I kind of said this at the outset of the segment. Lidar was a very good integration in terms of their service for their phones. I think that's pretty. I think it was pretty awesome. I guess the point I'm getting to is that from a software perspective, they've always had this problem, and that's not a phone versus phone deal. It's
no, you're right
Apple.
about that. Apple makes bad software. Apple's not good at software. They haven't been good at
Yeah,
software in
that,
10 years.
that's kind of what I'm getting at. I'm not necessarily you know arbitrarily crapping on iPhone and the ecosystem. I'm not doing that. Their ecosystem. See, there you go. Their ecosystem is built for a specific customer base.
Simplicity. It's still built for simplicity and ease of use, and and keeping you in the garden, and it works for that. Like it really, like that's like I was an Android guy, so it's not like I'm like a member of the cult of Apple. I'm not. But as I found myself using my phone less and less for showing people cool stuff that it does, and
You're
more for
wearing
just
white,
like
man.
talking to my daughter and like just talking, I find myself like I don't care about launchers and customization. I care about that when I hit dial, I can dial from my phone. I can dial from my iPad. I can my AirPods know when I'm trying to talk on. The transition between the two is seamless. It is a noticeably different experience using a tablet than it is on the phone. It's just like there's like I feel a difference, and it's not like I'm not saying one is better than the other because who cares, right? Everybody got to use what's best for them, but uh it's different.
I will
It was.
say,
I had to. I started off with just the iPad, and I was like, I just got the iPad because there's some games on there that I wouldn't use that I couldn't get to on the Android. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, well, let me get the phone and see how the phone works. And I get the phone and see how the phone works. I'm like, yo, man, this is easy. I didn't have to tell it to know where my tablet was. It just know where my tablet is. Like I don't know.
I think that to be fair, I mean, I had an iPhone for was since 2012 to 20 till last year, 2019. So um I like to make fun of the Apple folks, but to be perfectly honest, I mean, when I had an iPhone, it was really good, and a lot of the apps, like when you compare apps on Android and on iPhone, they tend to work a little bit better on the iPhone than they do on Android. Case in point, there's an app I use called QuadPay. It allows you to make purchases and like spread it out over like four payments, right? And so but you can't use it in store with on Android. You can use Apple Pay on an iPhone, but you can't use Google Pay. You can't use it with Google Pay or Samsung. Well, oh yeah, or Samsung Pay. So it's like, why is it that I have this functionality on iPhone, but I don't have the same functionality on Google, even though it's literally the same kind of technology with NFC. But but some apps do work, or there are some features that are on iOS apps that aren't on Android, so you kind of get a better and a more consistent experience on iPhone versus Android. So I mean, I think, and to be perfectly honest, like Dominique said, like whatever your preference is, just go with it. If you prefer to be able to customize your phone and all of this stuff and load however many stuff you want on it, just get an Android phone. If you prefer the simplicity of the iPhone and the stability and longevity, like you said, you can get if you have an iPhone 5, 6S, you can still download iOS 14, right? So like you have that support. Um, but I don't know. Before I go on, we kind of I won't say we left her out, but Leslie, I know you're an Android gal. But
Yep.
is there anything that Apple could do to convince you to switch over?
Phone wise, no. Never really been an iPhone person at all. Never, not since day one, not since the first iPhone. There's nothing about an iPhone that appeals to me that I would really want to switch over. There's like everybody around me, everybody I work with has iPhones. They're like, hey, do you want to FaceTime? I'm like, nope, can't FaceTime. Don't have an iPhone. Don't you want an iPhone? Nope, I don't. I I like what I like. I like Androids only because I'm a developer. I love developing apps. It's easier for
Yeah.
me to test stuff on Android. It's easier for me to work that way. If I want to test something on an Apple product, I literally have to spin up a VM to do it. And I feel like even then, I still don't get like I would buy an Apple product not to use, but the test purposes only. My dad just got an iPad because he got it for free from Sprint, and he's like, I like it, but I have no clue what to do with it. And he's like,
It wasn't
and
free. I used to work at Sprint. Tell him it wasn't free. No, don't tell him. Let him still think it's free.
no, this one was actually free because they screwed up something major. We've been with Sprint since 2001, and they screwed up something major on the bill.
That
So
sounds
in
Sprint.
the numbers game and aspect of it all, it was free.
Yeah,
Trust me,
they
I
give
looked
you a
myself.
credit every month, but just tell them to cancel Sprint and see don't they hit them for the whole 350 or whatever that tablet costs.
Oh, that's gonna be tablets of 400. Trust me, I looked at all the background. I used to work for Sprint too. I'm not
Oh, okay.
dealing with any of that craziness, so I knew about the the fine print. But
On a on a
I
side note,
if I had to get an Apple product, I would want a MacBook Pro only because of processing power. That's about it.
Even then,
yeah, and then
I don't see. I can understand why someone would pick an iPhone or an Android phone. There are legitimate benefits and advantages that you have with an iPhone or an Android phone. But when it comes to Mac OS versus Windows, I don't know, man. I don't see a compelling reason unless you want to stay in the ecosystem and unless you use like Mac specific apps like Final Cut Pro or something or Logic or something like that. Unless that's your use case. And that's the use case, to be fair.
That's true.
Like if you use Premiere Pro or Blender or like any app that's multi-platform, I don't see why you would want to go with Windows because you have access to I don't know. You have access to more power that for one, more graphical power with Windows than you do with a Mac. And even if you try to get the same amount of power on a Mac, it would cost you like $10,000. Literally cost you $10,000. So
yeah,
I know.
I'm not
Like I
even
and
said,
not
kidding. It literally costs that
I'm
much
not
to
gonna
get
lie.
that to get more power on a Mac Pro.
I put this on.
yeah, and
I
let
will
me
say I
let
put
me
this on the old guys and the new. You will never see me with a MacBook on.
and let me
Like
just let,
that's
let
silly to me. The MacBook is silly to me, but that's because I'm a
me
gamer. If I was a creative, I might consider
oh no, my gaming PC
dropping.
is
Yeah,
my
let
gaming
me
computer is
let
a
me
PC.
let me just say
Okay,
this
go ahead,
as
Herb.
a IT professional that does engineering and software administration, you know, enterprise administration rather. iOS sucks in terms of in terms of enterprise. In terms of integrating with other operating systems and playing nicely with everything else, it sucks. It sucks with email. It sucks with file. It sucks with file. File structure and location. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks. It
wasn't
sucks.
made for none of that. You know what it was made for?
Well,
It was
and
made for
well,
you to
that's
be
the
fly.
thing.
It's made for you to be
But that's
fly
the
with the. You see this right here? This means
but
I'm
that
cool. This means I'm cool, Herb.
but see that's the thing. You know, flyness in business don't that those aspects don't functionality does, and that's kind
Agreed.
of that's kind of what, as from a from an IT professional aspect. Look,
You
I'll
know
be the
how
first one
cold
to tell you.
iPhone is, though. You know how cold iPhone is. iPhone's so cold that they making y'all figure out a way. They making y'all figure out a way.
Not on this end, they
Mm.
ain't.
If
Not on
yours
this end, they
if you no well you work for the government. If you work for the CEO of such and such, and he want to use an iPhone, and you the IT administrator for I want to use an iPhone, man. Guess what you going to figure out?
Well,
You gonna
I'm
figure out
I'll be
you
first.
gonna figure out how to get
Having
that man an iPhone.
having worked for both, because my duties for UNCF prior to going back to contracting for the feds, I was tasked with that very thing. You know, they were like, okay, what's more cost effective for us? Integrating everything with iPhone and iOS, or going to the cloud with Office 365 and Office 365, because a lot of the products that we already had integrated seamlessly with it. So, eh, yeah, you can say that for some private entities, depending on who you're talking about. But from a business perspective, in terms of larger entities, hospitals, state and federal government, you're not going to see that. Now, that's not to say that iOS and those laptop platforms like MacBook Pro, MacBooks don't have their place, because in really specialized functions and situations, they work extremely well. Like for video production, for web development, those things are great platforms. Overpriced, but great. But in terms of just, and I'm like I said, I'm speaking from my own experience, because I mean, I don't know how many times I just wanted to do, swift round kick to a user that wanted to integrate an iOS product into my network or into my enterprise environment, and I had to say, look, we have all of these tools here. Why do you want to integrate Why do you want us to do this? And other than the fact that I'm comfortable with it, I get it, but at some point that becomes a detriment, particularly if you're looking for efficiency and being able to actually be productive in that environment. Now, in regular, non-work situations, absolutely. I don't have, people are going to love what they love. But speaking from a business perspective, or from, a perspective in terms of integration with other products, nah, Slim. That
Yeah, it's been. I know having also worked in the IT space, trying to integrate like Apple products in an enterprise. It also depends on maybe where you work. In the private sector, it might be a little bit easier, but like with the
yeah,
government, it's almost impossible, because one thing with Apple, they like control. They want to be able. They still want to be able. They still want things to go back to their server. So like enterprise apps that you create, right? You can create an enterprise app store, but they still have to follow the same guidelines as the regular app store, I think. But and like when you work for some certain agencies, you can't do that. Like you can certain governmental agencies, you're so locked down that you're not able to accommodate Apple, and their enterprise demands. So you're just stuck with Android and Windows because it's just easier. You don't have any of those restrictions. I mean, I understand why Apple wants to keep a consistent experience regardless of whether or not it's consumer or enterprise, but it just doesn't work work the same way. Particularly because like when in enterprise, you set up, like, there are like mobile device managers that you can use to kind of set up policies and stuff like that, but you still can't get as nitty gritty on iOS as you can with Windows and Android. um I mean, I don't know, it's been a while since I've done that. Maybe some things have changed, and I know Apple is trying to they're trying to be a little bit more business friendly, because like in the United States, most people have iPhones. Like, more people have iPhones in the United States than Android phones. So because of that, businesses are going to have to accommodate that, right?
yeah.
So
Now, I will say, just to kind of piggyback off of what Dave just laid out. Now, I will say that there are third-party applications that have kind of, made their windfall on that problem between Apple, iOS and integration into enterprises. Good example of it is BlackBerry. BlackBerry, isn't doing isn't doing hardware, really isn't prominent in hardware anymore. But what they are doing is email integration for iOS to Windows enterprises. And for example, my work phone, is an Apple. It's a 11, and BlackBerry, bridges the gulf, but you have to have that BlackBerry. You're not gonna bridge the gulf into a government server without that application. So that sort of stuff. I mean, there are solutions. It's pain for administrators like me, but there are solutions there. I think if you're listening to this, don't really construe this as the Hatfields versus McCoys playing out on a podcast. We all have differing opinions on Android and iOS. Dom is an absolute fan of Apple iOS. Leslie, me, and Dave are Android folk. But at the end of the day, it's about what you guys like, and what your user experience is, what you're comfortable with in terms of your user experience. Now, I will say in terms of the framework of what we saw at this Apple event, I mean, it was meh to me, simply because, I look for different things. And for the Apple fan, for the folks that are in the Apple ecosystem, it may have been great, but
No, it wasn't.
But so I will say just about the event itself, like the event, how the whole digital virtual event, and also like what they've done in the past when they introduced when they had their virtual WWDC, their presentation is like top notch. Like no one is beating Apple when it comes to like their virtual events and how they present things virtually and digitally, in this, our current situation. Like I saw Google's event when they introduced the new Pixels and stuff like that. It was okay, but it wasn't nearly as slick as Apple's event. I mean, I think the iPhone event itself was it was kind of boring, to be perfectly honest. But because it wasn't, I don't know. I guess I didn't really see anything that, I mean, I guess it didn't wow me. That said, I kind of want to ask you all, was there anything about the new iPhones that you did like some aspect of the new iPhones that you like? For me personally, it was the design. They went back to like the iPhone 5 4S kind of like squared off shape, which I personally think is the best version of the iPhone. So I'm really happy they went back to that. I think that's the best, like, best ever.
for me, it was the lidar. It was the lidar integration. I mean, I think that was to me the most innovative thing that came from the entire presentation of the phone, because lidar in itself, when you combine it with photography, it really gives a lot of flexibility to people taking pictures that may not have been there, in prior editions of the iPhone. That to me was the most innovative thing that they did. And I mean, lidar is not an easy technology to integrate, so that's something that I'm really eager to see how that plays out in the wild. But the fact that they had enough foresight to really do that, bless you, man, bless you. Um, they had that type of foresight to integrate that technology into this edition of phones is good stuff.
Yep. Did any other? Oh, actually, Leslie, were there? I mean, I know. Is there anything about the newer iPhones that you like? I don't know.
To be
Or it's
honest,
like it's just all bad.
no, I never said it was bad. It's just not for me. I'm not swayed by it. Like, okay, ooh, shiny. I like the fact that they did integrate a wider screen for people who do like iPhones. I mean, the screen's bigger. That's good. Um, I like the lidar technology. I thought that was pretty cool. But just all the way around, nothing really stood out or impressed me. I'm not saying
That's
I'm never
5G
gonna get
though.
one, but it's just like with all the
Hey,
5G.
5G, that's the future.
hey,
The future is now. It's just nothing that said, you know what, I'm gonna go out and get me an iPhone. I'm like, now, even if I was on the fence about it, the fact that the prices dropped, that might be a bonus. Plus, with the mini option, it's in a
Oh
more
yeah, I forgot about the iPhone Mini.
reason. Yeah,
That's right.
the mini option is a more affordable price range, so that's a yay. But
So, so like real quick. So when they introduced the iPhone Mini, they had like this big dude with like these large hands with the iPhone Mini. I'm like, what? Why
look
is
at the
that?
tiny phone in my hand.
yeah,
Okay, that's what we're gonna do.
but
Okay.
hey, real quick, I wanted to get do a real quick segue before time gets really really short and
Oh yeah.
about talk about our newest entry to the cloud gaming wars, and that is Amazon Luna. Now,
Yep.
uh, more information came out. Has come out in the last month and a half or so about its price structure, release date, how it's going to, um, how customers are going to integrate and be able to play on the platform. And I gotta say, from the stuff that I've seen on it so far, I think Google Stadia is going to have some problems.
You
Seriously.
know, it's actually it might sound like it's not related to Apple stuff, but it actually is because if I'm not mistaken, both Amazon and xCloud, Microsoft xCloud, they're gonna use in order to run it on iOS devices because you can't do it right now. They're gonna use the
Right.
browser, so they're gonna use the browser to kind of get around Apple's restrictions. Which I'm pretty sure Stadia is gonna do the same thing, but uh, I mean, actually, this is a whole other podcast whether or not Stadia can kind of keep up because Luna's going to be the same. I think it's the same kind of business model as
Yeah.
xCloud, where like there's a bunch of games you can play, kind of like Netflix or whatever.
Right. And it's going to be, it's going to be one set. It's going to be one set tier of pricing per month for,
Right.
for those games. And I think, and this is a kind of more of a commentary on Google Stadia because those of you guys that have been following this podcast knew that I was really excited about Google Stadia when it first dropped. I thought it was going to be a game changer in terms of how people, how casual gamers can get into gaming. And at every opportunity, I've kind of dropped the ball in terms of access and pricing, not necessarily from technical issues, but in terms of how they price their product, it's crazy because it's like, okay, well, you might hop on the platform. If you have pro membership, you may have access to discounts, but you're still paying full price for games.
Mm.
And on top of that, you're paying a monthly price, a monthly stipend to be able to, have access to discounts on games. Not necessarily have just free games, but discounts on games that you're still purchasing for full price. So yeah, the Xbox model and what Google, what not what Google, but what Amazon Luna are probably going to end up doing, it's going to put pressure on Google to be able to keep up and to offer a more affordable alternative to folks that are playing. And I think whatever technical advances that Google has made in terms of making the platform more playable, the pricing structure still threatens all of that. And on top of that, we still haven't seen a lot of third party um, productivity in terms of games, in terms of their studio. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when Luna drops and we see what games, because I think there's already a listing of what games are going to be available on upon release. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in terms of that competition, because right now those guys are going to be competing for the same niche of gamer as xCloud, and not necessarily for GeForce Now because they're those are PC gamers and they're their own niche themselves. So um, it's going to be really interesting to see how that where that goes. Once this hits the market. So you guys, have you guys seen any of the specs or releases of games in the lineup?
Not yet.
Uh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying not yet. Go ahead.
Oh, you mean for Luna?
Yeah.
Um, I need to look it up. I haven't gotten. I know Stadia is coming out with a bunch of games, but you know, when you bring up like the market for game streaming, I wonder. Now we all know part of the reason why Apple isn't allowing the streaming services on their platform is because they have Apple Arcade, and so they want people to subscribe to Apple Arcade and play all those games, which is fine. Honestly, I kind of prefer that because then you don't get any in-app purchases or all that kind of stuff. But all right, which would you rather play? Would you rather play? Uh, I don't know, some random like mobile game, or would you rather play Red Dead Redemption 2 on your phone? Like it's that you have a choice of playing a smaller, more focused, I guess, mobile game, or you can try to play larger console AAA kind of games on your phone instead. And I don't think Apple wants to lose that recurring revenue from Apple Arcade, which is kind of ironic because Google also has their own version called Google Play Pass, but they have Stadia. So also, so it's like maybe they're trying to do both. I don't know, but which you would think Apple would embrace the streaming services, right? You can already hook up a DualShock 4 and an Xbox One controller to like an Apple TV and an iPhone or an iPad and use it to play games. You would think that might encourage more people to buy iPads instead of a console, because then I could just buy an iPad and play Xbox games on there. I don't know. You would think Apple would be more supportive of stuff like this because this benefits them, because people are going to be more willing to buy their stuff instead of going out and buying a console. Maybe I don't know,
I
but
think the money's in the services. That's why I don't think they do that. I think that the real money, just like with Amazon, like you'd think that they'd want to do whatever to make more money in the store, but the store is a loss leader for them. Like the real money is in AWS and Amazon services and that kind of thing. Like Apple makes their money off of services. And so the phone is just the medium through which services are rendered. And so I can understand somebody not necessarily making the right call, because I agree with you. I think that they would they would sell more hardware, which in turn gives them the opportunity. Because Apple Arcade, they're about to lock up into a bundle anyway that most people are going to get because it's not super expensive. So most people are just going to get that anyway, and so you'll get your Apple Arcade. Apple Arcade's trash, by the way. I pay for it. There's nothing on it that's worth like that. There's nothing that I'm like eager to play. There's a couple of games I download and I play occasionally if I'm waiting in the doctor's office and I don't have my iPad. So it's just not it's not worth it. But like you said, xCloud or like anything really, anything is better than Apple Arcade. Anything.
I think we
So
might have to we may have to do another episode just on or another episode on like the streaming services. Since Luna is coming out now, we have something more more to talk about. But also
Right.
I Microsoft's pushing xCloud hard with the Game Pass Ultimate thing, and so I wonder if Microsoft is going to become like the standard as far as like the business model, and I wonder if Google's going to shift Stadia into that kind of a business model, or are they just going to stick to their guns and pitch Stadia as like a in the cloud console or something. Like I don't know.
Well, and there, just to kind of add to that before we close out. Now, they aren't the only cloud variants on the market. You got Origin has their own cloud-based service for EA Sports, and I played that. And especially now they've released their new beta in terms of their user interface. That stuff is great. They're releasing stuff like all the EA titles. I got a chance to play beta of Star Wars Squadrons.
Oh yeah.
That released that was
Oh
that's
dang, that's right.
that's
I got EA Play too. Let me go ahead and download some stuff.
yeah, that's gonna be dope. Between that, I'm playing a trial of FIFA 2021 now. That's crazy.
Is Star Wars
So I
Squadron
mean,
reminiscent of Rogue Squadron?
uh,
From I don't know, from what I haven't played it yet, but from
yeah,
what I've heard, it's like one of the best Star Wars games
yeah, it's probably the
out
best
there
Star
now.
Wars game. Yeah,
And
I mean,
even better,
it's
like you can play it in VR, and you can use a HOTAS, like a throttle stick or whatever.
voice.
And like, if you have VR and a HOTAS set up, oh, it's like the best thing ever.
Yeah, but I think we also have to include platforms like that in that conversation. And when we probably do our next show in regards to that topic, that's something we're going to have to cover because a lot of these major, I mean, if you have other folks like EA and other software developers and game developers come out with their own platforms, that's a whole that's a whole nother ball of wax. I know just talking in framework of Luna, you've already got game developers that are petitioning to have their own channels within Luna. Like I know Ubisoft already has one. Bethesda is probably going to have one.
No,
Um,
Bethesda's owned by Microsoft. They're not going to get in there.
well, actually, that could be possible. I know prior to the purchase, that's what they were talking about. But yeah, that may be on the shelf. Thanks, Dominic, for pointing that out. But I think
That was
that,
one of the things that I thought was a weakness for them.
but I think yeah, I think that. I think that's right. I think that's a really good observation. Um, I think one of the other things that we're going to have to look at is just how receptive customers are going to be to another cloud gaming platform. Because a lot of people are already invested in Google Stadia. The folks that are with GeForce now or XCloud are already grandfathered in from being, part of another fan base of video games. So, the XCloud folks, they already have Xbox experience. GeForce Now are normally PC players. Google Stadia is a little different, and Amazon Luna may be a little different, but people are so familiar with the Amazon brand that they're willing to give it a run. So it's yeah, it's very interesting times on the wild west of cloud gaming. So it's we're going to see what it do when Luna drops.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. I don't know. We'll see where we are like 5 years from now. Like what's the gaming landscape gonna be? Uh, like 5 years from now. But on that note, I think I hear my daughter calling me for some reason. But or she's no, she was calling my wife. But yeah, we're gonna have to end it there because we got to save the good stuff for the next episode. But um, to that end, the kids episode is still coming. Don't forget, probably in November, um, maybe before Thanksgiving. I don't know. But yeah, we can go ahead and get that in November. Um, don't forget to follow us on social media. Like I said, Twitter at not Pack, that's me, at the Black Techies. Or you can, if you want to follow me, at Pack
Shameless plug.
Sound right, shameless plug, right? But also, there also don't forget we have a Facebook group called the Black Techies Collective. If you want to talk about all of this stuff, we have a very healthy membership, by the way. Let me click over right quick. We
Yeah,
have
pushing about
all right.
300, I think.
Yeah, 241 so far. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and join, we talk about gaming, like anime, a whole bunch of stuff. Um,
Gaming, technology,
yeah.
anime, yeah, just whatever you do, please don't come into the group advertising your own podcast or doing some other shenanigans that we're going to have to boot you for because we will boot you for it. Even critiques for the podcast, we welcome that within reason, as long as you're not making like personal derogatory attacks against cast members.
Speaking of which, all right, if you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube, like, pause this right now, pause it right now. Yep, right now, pause it. Go to search for the Black Techies on iTunes, leave a review, and rate us. Like, do it right now. And so before you forget, do it right now. There's all there. We have seven ratings. We had a 5-star review. Shout out. But we only have one actual like review for the podcast. So go leave a review and leave a star rating because not just because we want people just to go do it randomly, but it helps us like get noticed. So the more people who, watch or rate and review the podcast, the more iTunes will suggest it to people. And like, hey, you like all these other tech podcasts? What about the Black Techies podcast? Right? So, I'm just saying, just do it right now. Like, while you're hearing me, pause it and go do it, and then come back, press play, and then
Yeah,
continue
and that
watching.
pretty much yeah, that pretty much goes for any platform that has our podcast, whether it's Stitcher, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Google Podcasts, you name it. If there's a review system there, please give us a review.
Oh,
Please.
iTunes is probably more well known. That's the only reason I say iTunes.
Probably
Most
more
people, most
well
people
known.
listen to our podcast using Apple Podcasts, so based on the data that we get, like
They don't want to
over
hear
like
that, Dave.
75% of the people who listen to this podcast have an iPhone, apparently.
They don't want to hear that, Dave.
All right. Speaking of that, I'll go around and we give a brief 30 seconds. Give you lady last impressions before we go. Leslie, shoot.
Not impressed. New phone's out. It's coming out in November. Y'all, if you're an Apple fan, go ahead and get it. You know you want it. Plus, it's cheaper. I'm not impressed by it. Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. All right, Herb. Any wise words to leave us with?
First, a real big hearty shout out to everybody that supported the Black Techies over the years. Um, we do this podcast for you. We really appreciate your support and your patrons, all the folks in the collective. We love you guys, and we will continue pumping out content as long as you will continue listening to us. To the folks that are running the MEAC Esports League, the SWAC, keep on doing your thing. Keep on doing the work. Your visibility is being noticed. Thank you for everybody that's listened to us and continue to listen.
And I'll say one more thing before Dominique goes. So this has nothing to do with technology, but if you're into HBCUs, HBCU culture, and HBCU bands in particular, go subscribe to the HBCU band experience with Christy Walker. Go do it. Go
Yes,
subscribe to
sir.
it. It's like she just
Yeah,
came out with this podcast and it's great. Go listen to it.
me and Dave are fifth quarter alumni, and for folks that are familiar with HBCU culture, Christy Walker and Mike Lee are at the forefront of HBCU band culture. The fifth quarter is legendary in our circles. So please listen to what she has. Listen to what she has to say. She is a trailblazer. So support the podcast. Give her positive ratings. Clown on her because she went to A&T, but don't.
Hey man.
And
Hey
there
man.
you go.
Don't do it.
But yeah, just give her all the support, man, because she deserves it.
Yep. All right, Dominique, go ahead and close this out.
Yeah. So the election is soon. I need you guys to, everybody that's listening, talk to 2 or 3 people in your life, and it doesn't matter who you're voting for. That's not true, but that's what I'm supposed to say. I want you guys to get educated on not just who the presidential candidates are, but who your mayoral and gubernatorial and all those people. There's a great website, votesaveamerica.com. It is left leaning, but they got all the information. They got all the people's platforms with links to those websites. And there's like sample ballots, so you can see all of the measures that are on your ticket this election, and how you can early vote and when you can early vote and all that. And also make a plan, guys. Don't just say I'll wake up on November 3rd and go vote, because a lot of y'all, when y'all see them 6-hour lines, are going to turn
Yeah.
around and leave, and that's your last day. That's your last chance. So if you're going to give it a couple tries, then don't start November 3rd. Start October 25th, right? So make a plan, guys. Go out, everybody. Let's get out there. Let's get voting. Let's be those guys.
The man got him.
Oh wait, did we lose him? We lost him.
I
Oh
do have
man.
one more quick thing to say. Go like and support. Shameless plug. Like and support. Get Rec Tech support. We're trying to get more women in IT and gaming, and I'm trying to get the resources there. And I actually have an 8-part series coming out Halloween Day. 8-part series, video game console history, and it's animated.
That
All
was the
right.
that's the issue with me using my phone to do the podcast instead of my computer and a mic. So my
See,
bad, y'all.
see,
But
see those
anyway,
iPhones, man. Those iPhones.
I
I'm just
said all
kidding.
It
that to
is.
say I said all that to
You know
say
what it
everybody
is.
go do your thing and everybody try to do a good thing for somebody. There's a lot of people hurting out here in these streets. Get out, do something nice for people, pay it forward, all that good stuff. But know that when you go to bed, every day you wake up, you are closer and closer to the orange dude not being y'all president. Not my president, he y'all president, but he closer and closer to not being y'all president as well. I'm a sovereign citizen. Holla at
And on that note, be safe, wear a mask, go vote in that order. Hail Wakanda.
y'all.
Yeah,
Wakanda
Uganda.
forever.